strange thing about land, isn't it? I mean, it's just dirt and rock. But we give it names. We draw lines on it, we call it holy, and then, well, we fight over it for centuries. This particular piece of land, nestled by the Mediterranean, has been called many things by many people. The Promised Land, Palestine, Israel. But for most of its recent history, its most fitting name might have been the Land of Endless Tears. The story is an old one, a tale of empires rising and falling, of conquerors and the conquered. It's a story where every group has a legitimate claim, a deep, painful memory of being wronged, and every memory comes with a receipt, an invoice for justice that someone, somewhere, must pay. The 20th century turned up the volume on this ancient conflict. Suddenly, it wasn't just about empires anymore. It was about people returning to a home they'd dreamt of for millennia, and people who were already there, fearing the loss of their own home. Two nationalisms, two dreams, colliding in the same small space. And when dreams collide, they often create nightmares. Wars were fought, lines were drawn and redrawn in the sand. Families were displaced, their keys becoming symbols of a hope that faded with each passing year. The world watched, picked sides, and sent weapons. This wasn't good versus evil. It was a fight between two rights, and that is the very definition of a tragedy. You know how families pass down traditions, like your grandmother's recipe for soup or your grandfather's watch? Well, in this land, generations pass down something else. They pass down their anger. A Palestinian child born in a refugee camp learned about the Nakba before they learned to read. They learned the village their grandparents fled, a village that might not even exist on a map anymore. Their identity was forged in loss, olive groves, homes now belonging to strangers. On the other side, an Israeli child grew up in the shadow of the Holocaust and the wail of sirens. They learned the world could turn on you in an instant, that survival meant high walls and a strong army. Their fear was real, etched into a national psyche, a promise of never again applied to every single day. The other side stopped being individuals, mothers, fathers, children, and became a faceless enemy. The cycle of revenge became the most predictable thing in a deeply unpredictable world. A rock thrown by a teenager was met with a rubber bullet. A shooting at a checkpoint was met with a demolition. A rocket from Gaza was met with an airstrike that flattened a building. Each action guaranteed a reaction. Each reaction guaranteed the next action. The children didn't just see violence, they absorbed it. They inherited the grudges. The quest for revenge became more important than the quest for a future. The past wasn't just a memory, it was a script everyone was forced to follow. A tragic play ending in bloodshed. Imagine being a teenager whose daily life is defined by a wall. For Palestinian youth, the checkpoint was a constant reminder of a lack of freedom and of humiliation. It didn't start with politicians or generals, it never does. It started small, online forums, secret groups where young Israelis and Palestinians began to talk. Clumsy, suspicious, full of accusations. They recited what they'd been taught. Then something shifted. Arguing gave way to listening, shouting softened to a whisper. They met in secret in neutral cities and quiet hills, broke bread, shared stories, and discovered the other was not a monster. The other was another version of themselves. The whispers found a voice, the generation of the bridge. They used art, music, and social media to spread their message. Viral videos revealed shocking similarities. Our grandparents fought, our parents talked, we will build. Resistance came fast and loud, but for every voice condemning them, two more joined. The whisper became a roar. The breakthrough came when the conversation shifted from politics to identity. They looked past the last 70 years and into the last 3,000. Genetics showed remarkable closeness between classmates. Ancient stories belonged to both, shared heritage buried by modern dogma. They laughed, realizing they were arguing over recipes their shared grandmother invented. Not competing truths, but branches of the same family. Abraham, father to them all. A sacred center for three faiths, holiness multiplied, not diminished. If they could choose unity over revenge, why couldn't we? The question hung in the air, filled with hope. With a foundation of shared identity, they needed a practical solution. The old ideas had failed. Inspiration came from Italy and the Vatican. Open streets, shared infrastructure. A radical framework. Two separate sovereign governments. One shared homeland. Israel, Palestine, each with its own flag, parliament, and laws. But the land, river to sea, becomes one open economic and cultural space. No walls, no checkpoints. Movement like Italy and the Vatican. Like France and Germany in the EU. Jerusalem remains undivided, a special shared capital with international guarantees, a fair, transparent tax system, a reconciliation and development fund for infrastructure, education, and reparations. Negotiations took years. The old guard fought it, the youth persisted, the whisper became law. Today, the land is unrecognizable, not in stone, but in spirit. The walls have come down, the checkpoints are gone. A single line stitches the coast to the hills, the sacred to the everyday. Those who once met in secret now launch startups together. The fund transforms lives, classrooms, clinics, community centers. Compensation turns the key of return from loss into a future, remembering horrors to ensure they are never repeated. A breathtaking cultural fusion. Canaanite cuisine, joint films, shared stages, olive and palm, steadfastness and renewal now grow side by side. The children of the conflict chose to build a bridge instead of a wall.